I'm the voice, and this is a Divi community produced video by the community and for the community. Well, if you're like me, you have a desktop application. If you had a vault that was hosted by, that's the server, not the coins, but the server was hosted by Divi Labs. Or maybe you had a mobile vault, you migrated to the desktop, and that was also hosted by Divi Labs. This is going to be easy. In fact, I want to stress that you're in charge. I want to stress that the only thing you're lacking right now is just a tiny, tiny bit of knowledge. And what do I mean by that? Well, when we do these tutorials, we kind of think about on a scale of 1 to 10 how hard they will be. I'm going to call this one a 3. It's really not that hard at all. In fact, if you look at your overview, you see your total balance. Yours might say millions. In my example here, I created this vault. It says 58,111, but my spendable says 0. The fact that it says total balance should tell you that you have the power. You have the control. We're going to talk about how you manage that in the next few steps. So as you're watching this video, I want you to look down in the comments. If you look in the comments, you'll see a link there. That link actually takes you to this right here. This is my tutorial for how to do this. I want you to be able to follow along with this. So even though this is easy, I just want you to have the opportunity that if you don't want to watch the video, or maybe you want to pair them together, you have them both. These two things work together. The notes, the text, what you're going to enter, even the keyboard commands, what you're going to do. There's just a few steps. We're 2 minutes into this conversation. Really, this video will be about 20 minutes long. But in reality, after you do it the first time, that means after you have the knowledge on doing it, your time to do this is less than 30 seconds. It's that easy. All right. So, and there's many ways to do it. We're just doing it the quick. We're not doing it the quick way. We're doing it the safe way for your first time around. So we'll call it the training wheels version. And let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you want to make sure you do is, just like in our previous videos, as I'm doing something, I want you to have a base to work from. That means a place where you can save your notes, a place where you can copy things and save things like your addresses, or maybe the commands you're going to use when you're looking things up, or if you're going to remove something from a vault. You need to have a solid base, a foundation you can just return to. You don't need to keep it afterwards. Once you have the knowledge, it's not deep, it's not hard. So once you understand it, it's super easy. So the first thing I want you all to do, whether you're on Mac or whether you're on Windows, if you look at the tutorial here, that is to open up a notepad or a text edit document. On Windows, you can usually right click and say new and then choose text document. On Mac, you can also do that right click and then choose the document you want to do, text edit in this case, or open it in text edit, create it. The problem is that some of you have these touchpads, notepads, the notebooks, and touchpads and MacBooks. They don't have, or they didn't come with a mouse. So we're going to compensate for that. And it's going to lend to what we're trying to do, because some of the things we're going to do in console, you can't use a mouse the way you would think. You can't use the touchpad the way you would think. So you're going to have to use some keyboard commands. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a notepad document on Windows. And I'm not going to use the right click, although you can. So you can see on my screen here, I can right click and say new text document. But what I'm going to do, and I know the Mac users can do this because they can use Spotlight, I'm going to hold down my Alt key. That's down by your space bar usually. Hold down my Alt key, and I'm going to tap the space bar key. And that pops this little search here up. Now, if I clean that out, it has all sorts of things I can search for. But what I'm going to search for is Notepad. Right? Look, as I start typing it, it starts to come up automatically. This one right here, the little blue notepad that if you're on Windows, you're familiar with, I want you to click that. And that's going to pop up. Mine popped up off screen, but yours, that's because I have two screens. When that pops up, I want you to save it on your desktop. So you can file save as, and make sure that it goes to your desktop, right? So mine says this PC, you can select this PC and desktop if you want. So this PC and desktop, right in here is where we're going to name it. I'm going to call this Unvault. And it'll automatically append the text name on there. And if I click save, you'll see it appear on my desktop right up here. There it is. Here's my document. So this is the same thing. That's the icon for it. That's my document. If I close this, I can open it. Same thing. Now, Mac users do the same thing. Open Spotlight and text edit. Save it to your desktop. It might ask you to save it to documents. I'll tell both of you, Windows and Mac users, you can save it wherever you want. Just remember where you saved it, because we're going to have to go back to it a couple of times during this video. We're 6 minutes in. We're going to go through this pretty quick now. So once we have this saved, I'm just going to go ahead and close this for a second. We can go ahead and move on to our next point, and that is the fact that we need to make sure Divi Desktop is synced. Is it synced? Mine is synced. Yours should be synced. If it's not synced, you're not going to be able to get through this video. So wait for it to sync before you continue. The other thing we're going to do is make sure we have our debug console. Debug console is going to appear up in this top right-hand corner of the app. So I have three icons now. I have the connections, the peers bar, I have my lock, I have my slider, but right here, I'm missing something. You may have it, or it may be missing. If it's missing, like mine, you can go ahead and you can go ahead and click this and look down this list of options you have here. You want to find advanced mode. Here's advanced mode. So I'm going to click this and look what happens. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 icons. There's my debug console. If I return to overview, just to reset it so we have a base. All right, so now that we have that enabled, we need to unlock the wallet from console. You can do it from the lock. You just need to set a timeout, but it's super simple if I just click this here. But I'm going to give you a word of advice. If you're doing this the first time, you're going to want to give your unlock time, a little extension. Once you're good at this and you've done it a couple of times, you can go super fast. So I'm just going to say 20 minutes for now. Now I'm going to type in my password. Hopefully your password is more complicated than mine. This is just for the tutorial. We'll click unlock. And then the console pops up. So both Mac users and Windows users should be at the same point. Right here, we're going to scroll down to our next step, which is if you see a step 6, which is get a new receiving address. We're going to go back to this document that we just created called Unvault, and we're going to paste that address in. We're going to talk about how to copy it from the console. So let's go ahead and we can either copy this and paste it. How do we paste? Control V in Windows, Command key V in Mac. So Control V or Command V. So if I do Control V, you can see, look, there's my command, get new address. But let's type it in. Get new address. It's going to dump out an address here in a second. So if I hit enter, look, there's my address, DCYE DDNSZ. But I've got to put this in my document up here. So if I click this, can I right click on it? No, it won't let me right click. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use my command keys again. In fact, the tutorial shows you how to highlight it with your mouse and then use your key commands to copy it, both Windows and Mac. So the main thing I want to do here is double click on this address. You can drag your mouse over it as long as you're clicking and it'll turn blue. So again, double click it or drag it. Once it's blue, Mac users, Command key C, Windows users, Control key C. So I'm going to hit Control C. Both of you will notice there's no fireworks that went off. There's no fireworks for copying anything. So once I've done that, it will stay blue. And if I open up my document here, I can paste that in. So I can use my right click and paste it, or again, I can use my control keys and paste it. And how did we paste that address we copied from the tutorial in there? We used our command keys. Command key on Apple, V, so command key first, and then press the V key. On the Windows, it's control V. So I'm going to do control V right now. And there's my address. I'm actually going to call this my new address. You can do the same or not. It's just as long as I can keep track. I need to have these little notes as I go along. So that's my new address. I want to save this just in case something happens. I don't want to lose that address, although I could generate another one. But I'm going to stick with this one. So I'm just going to either save from the file option, save, or I'm going to use Control S and save. And so once that's saved, I can close this. And if you notice, if I double click it again, although my size is large, it comes right back. So I've got that copied. Now the next thing we want to do is look at our vault. And to look at our vault, you can go ahead and open up the vault by using get coin availability true. Open up's not the right word. View the vault, get coin availability true. You can see it right here. Here's the get coin availability true in the tutorial. You can type it in here. So I'm going to type it, get coin availability true. So it's, if you look at this right here, it's 3 words all run together as one string. There's no space in between get, coin, and availability. There is a space at the end of that Y before the true. So get coin availability. By the way, if you type it and you spell it wrong, you're among friends, because I've spelled that wrong so many times I could poke my eyes out. So I've spelled this so many times wrong, it drives me crazy. So I'm kind of glad I wrote it here so then I could copy it. I could paste it if I wanted to. Control V, it's paste. So I know it's spelled correctly. Anyway, so get coin availability true. Now, wow, this whole thing came up, but where is everything? My address is gone. I can see the spendable. I can see the stakeable. I can see I only have 0.02 Divi spendable, but wait a second. If I have a scroll wheel, this is another reason why you want a mouse. If I have a scroll wheel on my mouse, this is like a web page. I can scroll up or down. Now, as long as I don't close this window, I can scroll up and down and see all the things I need to see. Now, if you're on a touchpad, Mac, on those pads, you can drag this bar up and down. So after you enter the command, now if you enter the command wrong, it'll error, you just enter it again, but after you enter it. Now the reason why I want you to look at this is you can see I have 58,111 and 5 Divi in this. If you have an extra large vault, something that's many millions, something that's maybe 5 million or larger, especially on desktop or mobile, you're going to probably do this in a couple of batches, especially if you have a really large vault. So you'll split it up because as the way Satoshi designed it, any single transaction, that means one user making a single transaction, can only have so many transactions in that one single transaction for that one user. So if I commit a send individually, that's my one transaction. When you do that, you usually have batches of transactions in there. The maximum amount of batches can be looked at as bytes or weight, or how much can be calculated for fees. That's the way they do it on Bitcoin. The maximum you can have in these is somewhere between 500 and 600. So if you have a vault that's about 5 million or larger, you'll do this in 2 steps. And that's after the baby step. We're going to do a baby step first. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my list. I can look at my number and kind of guess. I know I'm safe. I know I'm under that amount. I can do the baby step and then the full unvault. If you're bigger, you're not. And if you look through your list, I only have 50. There's no number on here, but just I know because I built it, but eyeballing it, that's a 50 transactions, right? So we have I can cheat essentially. So if I have 50, I'm not worried about it. But what I'm going to do, since this is my first time, this is your first time, it's our first time unvaulting together, I'm going to do a test transaction. I'm going to use a command, and that command is in the tutorial. That command in the tutorial is reclaim vault funds. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And since I have my address here, let's go ahead and type that command in. Reclaim vault funds. It's plural. I'm going to put a space. This is our baby step here. Remember, that's our address we just made. Your address is going to look different. Don't use my address. And then after that, reclaim vault funds, we have a single space. And then after that Z, we have a single space we're going to add. So type once and enter a 1. Now I want you to copy this so you can highlight it. Highlight the whole thing. With your key commands, Control C for Windows, Command key C for the Mac in your text edit. And then I want you to paste that in here. Control V now. Command V to paste it. Now once it's pasted, what we're actually saying right now to the daemon, that's the Divi 3.0 engine, is we're going to move funds from the vault and we're going to move it to our address. So it goes from the Divi special smart, can't even talk, the Divi special smart vault contract. That was funny the way I said that before. It's going to move it from that, and then it's going to move it to our address that we just generated right here. Now watch this. If I hit enter, I got to scroll up and down. Remember, when I hit enter, sometimes we don't think it did something, but watch that. You can scroll. I've got a transaction hash here. So I know right now, in fact, you can see it right here. It says confirming. Now let's get out of this for a second. Since we have everything in our notepad, I'll go ahead and close this for a second. We can see it's right here. It's confirming. But what's weird is, look at this. I said 1,000 is available. Don't be concerned when that happens because we're talking about UTXOs. When you unvault a small amount, it consumes an entire batch of coins, and any of the change left over from the 1 is moved to your wallet's change address. This is actually, that's what this is right here, is the change address. But it's all internal. I own everything. In fact, I can see it right here. It says moved. I know this is done. I know I'm just waiting for this transaction to mine at this point. All I need to wait for it to do, just so I feel better, is see confirmed. It turns red, right? Confirming. Look at that. It just turned to red. So I know what I did worked. So I can go back into console. Remember, when I open this back up, it's going to erase everything I had here before, but I can go back to my document. Remember, I can open this back up. I still have it open here because I saved this, right? I saved this document. I can go back and now I can do another transaction. Copy. So remember how I copied it. I highlighted it. I said Control C to copy it. Apple users, Command key C to copy it. So I'll do Control C. And then I'll paste this in here. I have a lot more than 1,000 Divi. I had 58,000 Divi in here. So we're going to do this in 2 steps for those users who might have big vaults. If you have a vault under 5 million, you can do this in 1 step now. To do it in 1 step, we would do, it doesn't really matter what number we put in, because this command I'm going to show you is really special. In fact, let me write it out here. Let's make this bigger. If I simply add sweep funds, you see that? There's a single space after the 1. There's a space in between the Z and the 1. But if I add this double quote right after that, and then the sweep underscore funds in here, close with a double quote. What sweep funds does is we're telling the daemon to construct a transaction that takes everything out of the vault and put it in our new address. Puts it all in here. Now, Most of you are going to be able to do that. It doesn't matter what number we put here, because sweep funds is wholesale. It takes everything out of the vault and it puts it in our address. Some of you may feel better if you put, I don't know, a number in here larger. As long as it's not over the amount you have in the vault, it doesn't matter. Sweep funds is wholesale, cleans everything out. So I'm not going to use that right now. I'm just going to do half, because some of our users on these other vaults, these much larger vaults, we'll go ahead and copy this here. And I'll put it back in here, Control V, Command V. I'm going to do half of my vault. So I said 25,000, not 25,002. I'll just do 25,000. If you had a vault with over 5 million, maybe you would do 2.5 million. And then you could do the sweep funds afterwards. So I'm going to hit enter. And there's my transaction. And if I close this, I can see it. We're still waiting for it to mine yet. It's not in the memory pool yet, but there's our 58,011. Our total balance stays the same. We know this transaction is waiting to confirm. Once it gets in the memory pool, it still needs to confirm, but you'll see it go back up to 25,000 plus all the change from those UTXOs. So again, it won't be exactly 25,000. It's internal in your wallet. It may look strange to you, but once you understand how it works, you'll get what I mean. We'll go back into console, and then we'll go ahead and paste that back in. And in this case, I'm going to do 1. Seems weird, but I'm going to add sweep funds. Funds. Remember, if I just put a 1 there, sweep funds, it's just something in there, a placeholder if you want to say it. It's got to have something in that position. It's going to wholesale sweep all the funds out of that vault to our new address, and I'm done. It's all unspendable. So let's go ahead and enter. And there's my vaulting transaction. And there's my balance. It's waiting to confirm. It's waiting to mine, waiting to get in the mempool also. And then you'll see both of these are the same. So as we go through this tutorial, there was copying, there was pasting, there's learning about how to withdraw and in batches if needed, but really we're done. At this point in time, this is a super simple tutorial. You can follow along with the written portion. Gives you all the same tips we just talked about. It's like sweep funds is in there. It gives you all the command keys to do this. If you have a mouse, of course, it does make some things easier. You can scroll up and down easier than dragging. It also makes it easier for highlighting. But you're done. We've completely unvaulted this. This video is 23 minutes for really a process that should only take 30 seconds or less. Again, you'll come up with ways that are faster. Some of you will still follow this process. Whatever makes you comfortable. And there we go. Now it's in the memory pool. That's just waiting to be mined. You can see it's 58,111. These numbers are equal now. Look at that. Total balance and total spendable. We're done. As always, I thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions on this video, any questions at all, you can always reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. You've got the video, you get the example. It's about sharing together and learning together. And as always, thank you for watching.